So we're going to talk about 6 different stories that all kind of tie together and tell a story about gaming. I think it's a pretty interesting video, so stick around. And we got to start with Nintendo, because Nintendo was founded on September 23rd, 1889. That's 137 years ago. That's before World War I, before television, and before airplanes. Nintendo has seen it all. Nintendo's founder was around during samurais. And what Nintendo originally did was make playing cards, for no other reason besides it was a growing market. They tried a lot of pivots. When the playing cards just weren't paying the bills anymore, they tried a taxi company. This was in the 1960s and it failed. They tried instant rice, which also failed. They tried love hotels. That failed. And then they tried toys in the 1960s and 70s. That worked out, but it wasn't crazy. It wasn't until they tried arcade games in the 1970s. The arcade cabinets like Donkey Kong and Mario saved them from bankruptcy. Donkey Kong alone was like $280 million in revenue. And then in the 80s, they did home consoles, and that's what we know them as today. It's worth mentioning that the NES in '83 basically saved console gaming. The 1983 gaming crash saw a 98% revenue drop in console sales. And Nintendo went for it anyway. They had the games to back it up, and they saved it. Which leads us to Tetris. Don't worry, it'll kind of make sense. Tetris was developed in 1984. It was in the Soviet Union, and it was even on state-owned property, so the state owned Tetris. So fast forward, and this company named Andromeda Software begins trying to license Tetris to sell it in the West. It's owned by this guy named Robert Stein. Robert thought he licensed the game correctly by going through the original creator of the game, but he didn't because, remember, the state owns it. So since Soviet Russia wasn't really focused on licensing like niche game software, they assigned the rights to Elorg, which is just their state-owned entity set up in order to handle computer software and hardware. And since Nintendo was working on the Game Boy at the time, they sent a lawyer to Soviet Russia to negotiate Tetris launching with the Game Boy. It was only a launch title in North America, but it's fair to say Tetris helped the original Game Boy a lot. Eventually in 1991, the Soviet Union fell, so the original creator, Alexei Pajitnov, was able to form the Tetris company and finally got paid for it. Depending on what you call a game, Tetris is the best-selling game ever. It doesn't have a big open world for you to explore, but it is a game, and it has 520 million sales according to Wikipedia. And this leads us into Sony creating the PlayStation. Because Nintendo was king in the 80s. Like, just to show the market share, companies like Atari had about 2%, Sega had about 7%, and Nintendo had about 91%. Now, Sega did give some competition in the early 90s, but Nintendo won and then instantly created a new enemy. Because they were meant to collab with Sony, and it was even Nintendo's idea. So at the 1991 CES, Sony announced their partnership with Nintendo. And let's just get a closer look at this slide. It says Sony in partnership with Nintendo, we're making the PlayStation. And they revealed the PlayStation, like they had a prototype and everything. The very next day, Nintendo goes on stage and announces a partnership with Philips for the exact same thing. They didn't warn Sony, and they claim they did this because they didn't like the Sony deal. They felt Sony had too much control. So they just went behind their backs, made a deal with Philips, and then didn't tell them. It's crazy. So Sony was not happy about this, and they decided to directly compete with Nintendo. So they launched the PlayStation in 1994 in Japan and 95 in North America. You all know it. I'm sure a lot of you have played on it. Leave a comment if you had an original PlayStation. Because this thing sold 102 million units. It outsold the N64 by 69 million units. After this, Sony has gone on to be 4-1 in console wars. And they even won the PS3 globally, they just lost in North America. And all of this really just comes down to the moment Nintendo snubbed them at CES. So next we quickly got to talk about how GTA was an accident. Before Rockstar was Rockstar, they were DMA Design, and they were working on a game called Race and Chase. This was a racing game with cops. It was boring, but there was a bug in the game that made the cops really aggro, like they would just smash into you, when apparently the idea was that they were supposed to pull you over. The thing was, this bug ended up being the only fun thing about the game. So the developers pivoted to the GTA chaotic design we know today. And all of this has been directly confirmed by Rockstar themselves. GTA literally only exists because of a bug. And it's crazy to think about because there's a lot of cases where this game just would have been canceled today. And this fun bug never would have been explored. But because it wasn't, GTA 5 and Online is the highest grossing single entertainment product in history. Now I know I'm being a little specific here. But what I just mean is if you go out to the store and you buy something, You just buy one thing like a movie, a game, hell, a season of a TV show. GTA 5 has made more money than any single purchase like that. But it actually gets crazier. GTA 5 has made more than the top 3 grossing movies combined. So Avatar, Endgame, and the other Avatar. These 3 movies have made $8.1 billion. And GTA 5 has made $10 billion. GTA 5 has hit $1 billion in revenue faster than anything ever. It has made about the same as every Star Wars film. And given how fast GTA 5 makes money compared to these older films now, I mean, it will just pass it. But just to put it in perspective, this is how much all of the Star Wars films have made. It's about $10 billion. And GTA 5 is about $10 billion and counting. Now, obviously, I'm just talking about how much the films have made themselves. Star Wars as a brand has made over like $50 billion. I think through merchandise alone, they've made $30 billion. So just know I'm just talking about the movies. But in that same vein, it's also made more than all of the Harry Potter book series. Again, just talking about books, not movies or merchandise. But if we look at how much each book is made, it's $8.5 billion, and GTA 5 is $10 billion. So a game that was originally made because of a bug has made more money than all of the Star Wars films combined and all of the Harry Potter books combined. And to think they want to increase the price of video games. I mean, I get obviously the reason GTA 5 has made so much money is because of microtransactions, which is why I think it's a little crazy that people think they're going to charge like $100 for GTA 6. Why would they want to do that? The actual box sale of the game isn't what makes them money. I don't see how increasing the barrier to entry of getting you into their ecosystem that actually makes their money, I don't see how that helps them. But if you want to talk about the real money makers in gaming, Valve is one of the highest revenue per employee companies in America. If you look at Apple, Nvidia, Microsoft, Alphabet, Amazon, I mean, there's Meta too, but who cares about them? Apple makes about $2.5 million per employee, Nvidia about $3 million. Microsoft 1.5, Alphabet 1.9, and Amazon 900K. Valve makes about $13 to $17 million per employee. This is because they have about 300 to 400 employees, whereas these other mega corporations have a lot more. And since Valve still makes about $6 to $10 billion per year, I have to stress that Valve is not a public company, so these are just the best guesses the internet has. But if they're right, it's pretty insane. And of course, the reason Valve is able to do this is because they just have a small workforce. Steam takes 30% of almost every sale on the platform. I say almost because some of the bigger publishers get better deals, but they have minimal overhead. They barely do manufacturing. If they launch the GameCube anytime, then that'll actually pick up. But as the saying goes, Valve just does nothing and wins. Thanks for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. If you want to buy a mug, they're linked below. Thank you to all the doodles on the board that have signed up. And yeah, I finally think I have everything set up now. There should be no more week-long breaks between videos. My plan is to upload daily or every other day to my other channel, so subscribe to Drawn Out Notes. I post quick gaming news videos. If you like this channel, you'll like that one. And I plan to post 2 times to this channel per week. I'm still making my Resident Evil 9 review. This is the first time I've reviewed a game, so it's taken me a while. But yeah, you should subscribe. And if you're like at the point of listening to my bantering about my other shit I got going on, then you should probably leave a like. Like if you're here right now, you should be leaving a like. All right, have a good day.